I am Kiana Shear, and I'll be presenting Chapter 13, Making Sense Out of Standardized Test Scores. That's the goal. That's what I'll be talking about today. So what you have in front of you, I gave you a sheet of paper to do the KWL. You'll tell me what you already know about standardized test scores, what you want to know, and what you've learned. Sometimes in my class, I use this as an assessment to see what the kids learned, what they want to know, and what they learned. I like this strategy because it gets them interested in the topic, and it also lets them know what they want to get out of the presentation if I were to present to them, and that's what I would like for you to know. What do you want to know, what you want to know, and at the end you'll tell me what you have learned. Okay? I'll give you a minute to do that. So in this chapter, the goal, the chief chapter, is for us to know the fundamentals of the issue, such as testing when asked basic questions about standardized testing. Appropriate responses can be supplied. So you just have to have enough knowledge about standardized educational testing. So when you encounter an issue, maybe explaining it to a parent or having to explain it to a student, that you would testing, when asked a basic question, you can answer. You can tell the parent what standardized test scores are and how they came to those scores, because they vary. So the key things that I'll cover: what's a standardized test? Group focus test interpretations, individualized student test interpretations, percentiles, grade equivalence scores, scale scores, contrasting the interpretive options, instructional diagnostics test, and the SAT and the ACT. These are the test scores that I'll cover in the presentation. So, test. What is a standardized test? So, standardized test is the test is administered, scored, and interpreted in a standard or predetermined manner. It's designed to yield either norm reference or criterion reference inference. It's constructed primarily of selected response items. And it's a staggering difference of the level of effort associated with it compared to the classroom test. So the standardized test is the norm reference test. And primarily, it has selected responses, meaning it has the binary choices, true or false, multiple choice. Those are the things. And the thing is that it is a difference of a level of effort associated with compared to classroom tests. It's not like the classroom test. They have professionals that come do it. They have a standard, a particular way of designing and creating the test to identify the level of each student is used for a variety of different interpretations. Interpretations. So you have a group focus test interpretation. This is necessary to describe the performance of a group. It measures the central tendency of the variability, meaning that it gives you the mean, the median, the range, and the standard deviation of the test. So when I started off, the author was saying how it starts off with the raw score, which is how many they got right. And then the mean, that's the average of how many they had. The median, that's the two scores in the middle. The range is the range of the high and the low score. And then the standard deviation is the same as the professor was saying between the high and low score, but the mean in the middle of that. So it's the mean of those scores and how they're set apart. So if you get like a 1, how they're divided from each other. So the mean is an arithmetic average of a set of scores. The mean of a data set, 4, 5, 5 and 7, and 9 and 6. You add up 4, 5, and 6, 4, 5, 6, and you divide it by the number of scores. The median is the midpoint of the set of scores. It's the mid of the set scores. The median is the data set, 4, 5, and 7. And then it will be, so it's the midpoint between the two. So 9, the midpoint of those two is 5, right? So that's the median point. The range, that's the high score, and the set of minus the low score. So the range for the set score 4, 5, and 7 and 9 is 5, so you have 9 from 4, and then you get 5, so that is the range. What we focused on here pretty much was the SD, the standard deviation. It's how far a score is from the mean, or the average of the set of scores. So the SD, or the standard deviation, is the average deviation of set scores. Larger standard deviations relative to the mean indicate there's a greater range in the scores. So that is the difference in the standard deviation. So it's basically how far away the mean is from the set of scores. And how many of you already did use the formula to calculate that? You used it? Mm-hmm. Yeah? So as you notice, you had to use the mean, you had to subtract the mean from every score, and then like go over and divide it. So by doing that formula, it tells us how far apart it is. And the professor was telling me that basically it gives us the midpoint, the averages of how far apart they are. So group focus. 2 fictitious sets of test score with equal means but different standard deviations. So this is a sample. They found the mean, and this is the standard deviation of what we have. So I'll just go. So the first step, I don't know if they go into it in the presentation. Let me see. Okay. So the first step to get it would be to find the mean, which was 5. The second step, subtract the mean from the score. And then after you subtract it, you have all negative numbers. And then to turn those negative numbers into positive, you square them, and then you add them all together, and then you divide it by, well, you find the square root of it divided by the number of standard, by the mean. So that's how we're able to find it. So that 1.1 number, that's the gap, right? That would be the gap of each one. So you have that 1.1, and that would be the gap that you have in between the two. Want me to model it? Got it? So I like to kind of have a little participation. Could we check to see how the person would like to show me how to find the standard deviation of this set? And then someone like to come and do this set? Volunteer? No? I'll do it. So, or we could do it as a whole group. How will we find, just to check it, because I know they did it here. So for the first part, it's the mean. How do we find the mean? Someone has a calculator? So we have what? 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 7. So we take all of these. I could just add it. But I have 340. 5. And we add this all up. What do we have? When we added it up, I think it's, pre-did it, 50, right? Should be. And then you take that, and that's the first part. The first part is for us to find what? The mean. And the mean, take 50, we divide it by the number, and we have 5. Right? Second step, subtract the mean from each and score it. So you have to subtract the mean from all of these. Is that all right? I'm going to do something different. I'm going to keep the numbers here. I guess I could do some negative numbers. Negative. I have like 4 zeros. And then I think I'm missing a number here. But I had 2, 4. I'm missing 4. Negative 1. So you have negative numbers, and then you have, so we should have negative numbers and positive numbers. This is just the steps from the guide in the book, and make sure if year, but I have the professor here because this is my first time actually calculating it. So we have all the negative numbers and we have the positive numbers. That's step 2. So step 2 is to subtract the mean. Subtract the mean. Subtract the mean. So that's what we're doing. We're subtracting the mean from each score. So step 3 is to square each one. We'll square these numbers. So right now you have positive, we have negative numbers. So we'll square them all, and that's going to help me to square, right? So I haven't done math in so long. Is that right? 1, 0, 1, 4, 8, and we come up with 12. And then the last step for us will be to so divide it by the